Hello everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling on September 23rd, 2015. And, you know, I actually, in a way, I did like this episode, though. Very, very predictable with where they were going with things. Especially the way storylines have been going as of late. Obviously, at the beginning of the show, they did this bit with the entire roster coming out, and it's like celebrating the fact that they won over GFW, everything like that, though. In all honesty, if you looked at the storyline with GFW, most of the TNA Impact roster really didn't care. Though Dixie did play up a good role in this one as grateful, owner of said company, giving the 5 people that were a part of that part of the Lethal Lockdown match a 5-way elimination match as the main event of the show to determine who would be #1 contender for World Heavyweight title. So, okay, they at least played up a decent storyline with Dixie being like a gracious owner to these 5 guys, and pretty much everybody else is just kind of there in that case. So, overall the segment wasn't bad. The weird thing was, having everyone out there. Again, because mainly during that entire time with the GFW versus TNA, you only had certain people going up, certain people from TNA really going up there, and everybody else was kind of just like business as usual. So a little weird in that case. But overall, not a bad segment, and it set up the main event for the night, which ended up being a really good main event. I'll talk about that in a little bit, though. Next up, you had the Knockouts title match with Jade going up against Gail Kim. And honestly, I like this match. They finally let Jade, aka Mia Yim, from the indie areas, go and actually show a little bit more of what she can actually do inside the ring. They had kind of limited her throughout the entire time, and it was just mostly to play up the character. This time they let her do a little bit more of what she could do inside the ring. Overall, good match with the 2 of them, and then it insinuated the brawl afterwards with the beautiful people, the rest of the Dollhouse coming out, and you had the little promo beforehand where it's like, okay, Jade's gonna have the match, and Tara Terrell talking to the other 2 about what they need to do to garner favoritism and everything like that, and everything like that. It wasn't a bad promo. They definitely play the creepy factor out pretty good inside of these inside of the promos there. Tara Terrell actually plays a pretty decent heel. Not a great one, but a pretty good one in the end. So like I said, it insinuated the other 2 members of the Dollhouse to come out and attack Gail Kim, which obviously led to the beautiful people coming out, which they're trying to garner revenge for Angelina Love getting injured, everything in that aspect. So you still have that feud brooding between the beautiful people and the Dollhouse at this time. And then Awesome Kong comes out, because it was announced that the winner of that match was going to have Awesome Kong at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. And awesome that you're gonna I use that as semi-pun in there. It's great that we're gonna have the Gail Kim Awesome Kong match again, because it has been a while since we've seen the match. And they had some really good ones way back when. But storyline wise, shouldn't Brooke be getting her a rematch at this point? Okay, so they just kind of threw that out the window. Obviously, you're gonna get what I would probably say would be a better match in the end. But storyline consistency, though, you don't always get it. Would have been saying, hey, Brooke gets her rematch, then whoever wins there should go up against Kong or something like that. And you never know, maybe they'll do it next week in that case. So we'll see where they go with it. They don't have much time before the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. So you also had EC3 going up against Rockstar Spud, and I'm not gonna lie, very predictable where they were gonna go with this. There's no reason to change the World Heavyweight title before going in for Bound for Glory. You already announced the #1 contendership main event for the night. And storyline wise, you just knew EC3 was going over in this case. There's no purpose of putting it on Spud even for a week in here. So you're still just trying to play up the whole Jeff Hardy being personal assistant to EC3 and defying EC3 at all areas, you know, getting threatened to be fired, everything like that, which led to them actually doing that in the final segment of the show where EC3 cuts a scathing, pretty good promo in there and fires Jeff Hardy. So, and you get the whole Jeff Hardy saying, "You can't fire me, I quit." Well, okay, technically in the terms of your bet, no matter what you would do or say, you would get fired. Even if you say, "I can't do this anymore," then you're fired. You didn't quit, you're fired. Moments. So, a little inconsistency there inside of that. But overall, decent promo, decent segment to the show as well. It was thoroughly enjoyable. Now, will they do what most wrestling shows would do and bring Jeff Hardy back really quickly, or will they do what they probably should do in the terms of consistency and keep him off of TV for a while? We'll see where they go with it, and we'll see how everything goes. Something tells me we're going to be seeing Jeff Hardy back on TV really soon. That's just me, though, and that's not without even reading spoilers or anything like that. I'm just going off of normal wrestling logic in that case to say Jeff Hardy will probably be back on TV within a couple weeks, if not sooner. So this leads into that. Actually, no, this does not lead into the 5-way match. I actually wanted to talk about the Revolution breaking up. It's kind of been, you know, foregone conclusion that they were going to break up the Revolution at some point in time. They went with it this week in the terms of promo where Abyss goes off on James Storm and then a Manic does as well. I like James Storm's promo about how people have been failing them and everything like that, but then the promos from Abyss and from Manic themselves actually came off really well. They did what they needed to do to get out and not stay within the Revolution, and it continues on a little bit with James Storm and Muhammad Ali Shira, because you're going to have that final one-on-one altercation between the two of them at some point in time, and everything escalated pretty well within this segment to lead into that and setting up for one final match whenever they decide to do it, whether it's going to be like next week on Impact or at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, wherever they decide to go with everything. So so this actually does lead me into the main event of the night, which was that 5-way elimination style match. And I like elimination style matches, especially with the multiple people in there. It's just, I guess it builds the suspense a little bit more with them going with elimination style versus a one fall to the finish type match, because with the one fall to the finish type match, it can kind of get way too chaotic in every aspect. This one allows for a more of a story to build in the match itself, and they did a good job here. I actually in a way like and kind of dislike the whole aspect of Drew Galloway going over in here. The match itself was fine. Everything was fine. Drew Galloway, obviously they kind of built him as like the de facto leader of the TNA group going against the GFW group. So it makes sense to put him into the World Heavyweight title picture. I just don't know, for what was supposed to be their biggest event of the year, that he should be the guy doing that right now. Obviously, though Kurt Angle will be back, Kurt Angle shouldn't be the one, but you would have figured maybe a bigger type name like Lashley in this case would have been probably the better choice, but that's just my personal opinion on it. I'm not against the aspect of Drew Galloway going over in this case and getting that match. It's just how are they going to build it to be, oh, this should be the guy that breaks EC3's streak? Or will he even be that guy? And see if they take that title off of EC3 and put it on Drew Galloway, or whomever they decide to in the end. Again, I'm not against it. I think the EC3 Drew Galloway match will probably be a really good one. They had a real good one not too long ago. So we're going to see what they can do building a story going into the Bound for Glory pay-per-view with them. Overall, this week's Impact, not bad. It was not a bad match. They did a good job of finally beginning to hype the Bound for Glory pay-per-view and setting up some kind of matches for. Obviously, you have Drew Galloway going up against EC3, Awesome Kong against Gail Kim, Knockouts title, and you have the X Division title. They haven't announced Tigre Uno's opponents yet, but they've announced an Ultimate X match, which, in all honesty, it's a good match, and it actually hasn't been seen for a little while. So I'm actually going to be interested in seeing the match again somewhere down the road, because if there's one thing I've always had maybe a problem with TNA, is that they use these gimmick matches a little too much. I think in the terms of Ultimate X this year, they've already done it like 2 or 3 times. And in the end, I mean, it's a fun match, don't get me wrong, by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that you don't want to use it too often. On the biggest show of the year, it's on what's supposed to be their biggest show of the year, I would say definitely have that match in there because it is a fun match and it might garner some kind of attention in there, and they need that in every way. So we'll see who they put in that match going into it, and we'll see how that one actually turns out as well. Bound for Glory is pretty close. Actually, I think this next week is going to be the last Impact for that, and then they have Bound for Glory. So they got about a week to really build these feuds. Now I'm really thinking about that. Yeah, it's gonna be rough to do that for 1 week. Again, like I said at the beginning, they're kind of rushing some of these storylines to get them going into the pay-per-view itself. But overall, this week's Impact was fairly entertaining. It was by no stretch a great show, but it wasn't a bad show by any stretch of the imagination either. Storylines, not too bad. They're going to be rushed, which is unfortunate for the pay-per-view, but we'll see how they build them up over the next week. And that is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling, and I thank you guys for watching.